Welcome into another episode of the Inner Circle podcast. Zach Klein, Matt Ryan, Todd France, and Aaron Donald. We're going to have some fun today because Matt was talking about the communication in the headsets a few weeks ago and how it gets complicated and he's got to focus and then go to the offensive line. Gentlemen, you want to have some fun and be a sports broadcaster for a day?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. I have a script written out. Aaron, you want to start with us?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so what we're going to do, you're going to be the broadcaster on ABC, and we're going to toss to you, and then you're going to read this script, and at some point during this introduction that you're going to have, I'm going to get in your ear, and I'm going to whisper something as a producer would, and you have to keep reading, but at the appropriate time, listen to my command and follow through on the action. You down?
Yeah, I'm going to try. Let's see.
Here we
Let's
go.
see.
3, 2. Welcome back into the ABC studios. Zach Klein, Matt Ryan, Todd France. Before we go to our primetime game, we need to check in with Aaron Donald, who joins us now live on the West Coast with a key NFC matchup. AD, how's it looking out west?
Looking good. How we doing, everybody? I'm Aaron Donald. We live at SoFi Stadium, where this afternoon the Los Angeles Rams host the Atlanta Falcons in a huge battle in the NFC. Matthew Stafford has been on fire of late. In 70% of his passes over the last 3 games, he's thrown for 10 touchdowns without an interception. On the other hand,
Lisa on the sideline, she's ready with Matt.
we got to keep going. They got to keep playing good ball, playing consistent on the season.
Toss to Lisa.
Side of the ball is Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr.
Toss to Lisa.
Playing good football as well.
Toss to Lisa.
We're going to toss to Lisa.
Let's go, AD.
That was pretty good, man.
I couldn't see the last part. It stopped at one part. I couldn't see it, so I had to keep trying to just freestyle some shit for a minute, but it's cool. It's cool. And I couldn't hear
Matt,
you till I finished
ready?
talking.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go. Where are we at? Hey, can we role play this? I'm actually on CBS, okay? We're in the CBS studios this
That's
week.
fair enough. I'm trying to give my station a little shout out here, ABC, but we'll go with CBS. All right, 3, 2. Welcome back into the NFL on CBS. I'm Zach Klein. Before we get to our primetime matchup, we need to check in with Matt Ryan, who's live on the West Coast, getting ready for a key game with 2 NFC powerhouses. Matt, how's it looking out west?
We're doing great. How we doing, everybody? I'm Matt Ryan, and we are live at SoFi Stadium, where this afternoon the Los Angeles Rams host the Atlanta Falcons in a huge battle in the NFC. Matthew Stafford has been on fire as of late. And my prompter stopped rolling. There we go, completing 70% of his passes.
Toss.
Finding all
To Todd on the sidelines with Matthew Stafford.
It's been really good. You got to speak up because I couldn't hear you there, Zach.
Toss to Todd on the sidelines with Matthew Stafford.
Michael Penix Jr. has been great, but let's toss it to Todd France down on the sideline to get his thoughts on Matthew Stafford.
Well done. Todd, you want to play the game?
No, I'm good.
All right.
No, I'm good. I'm an agent, not going to be a broadcaster. It's all good. But Matt, you were telling us offline, you were telling us a story one time when you first got to CBS and you were doing a game and they started talking in your tell us that story again.
Oh my gosh. So I was doing an open of the game, which for everybody watching, there's like that, 2 minutes or 3 minutes prior to the game starting, you go into the booth, the play-by-play kind of sets the picture for the day. And then the color analyst is going to come in and kind of give you an idea of what to expect, right? Here are some of the players that are playing. Here are some of the matchups. And I was going, talking into my mic and just being like, you know what, today, Kirk Cousins was playing for the Minnesota Vikings. I think that's what it was. And Kirk's coming off an injury or whatever it was. And I'm talking, and in my ear, just like Zach, they're like, okay, we're going to cut to, James Cook down on the side or whoever it was at the time. And I'm like, I just stopped talking and didn't know what to do. And then they were like, you got to go. You got to get back in. So I picked it up, but there was about 5, maybe 6 seconds of dead air. And I was sweating profusely under my jacket. But I learned from that. I got better.
That would be tough to do, I'll be honest.
It's hard. I mean, you're trying to focus, you're trying to broadcast, you're in this rhythm, you're in this cadence, you're in this flow, and then somebody's in your ear out of the blue, and it could be, hey, replay of Matthew Stafford throwing a touchdown, or here's a replay of AD, break it down, or we're going to the sidelines, or we're going to commercial, and you got to get out. If you're talking, end of the second quarter here at Arrowhead Stadium, the Chiefs lead the Raiders 34. and you don't get out in time.
Yeah.
And those guys in the trucks are not happy.
Zach, you could probably speak to it better than I can, but I think it's really, really difficult when you are reading prompter like that and then somebody comes in, because it's one thing if you're talking. Like, I do very little off the prompter on our show. You know, most of it is, unless we're coming in and out of a segment where there's something you got to hit for, you know, an advertisement or something like that, it might be on prompter. But I do none on prompter. But if you're reading a prompter and getting directions and there's video, it's just, your brain can't comprehend all of it. It's
That's
really
too
difficult.
much.
I get to watch James Brown do it every week, and he is like the pro of all pros. He's unbelievable at being able to pace and kind of pick up speed or pull back speed and kind of get it to the video that's going. It's impressive to watch people do it really, really well.
Did it take you a while to learn the cadence? Well, I guess, you know, in front of the media for so many years, you pick up that 10 to 20 second soundbite, you master that. But on the NFL CBS desk, you need to work with your other co-hosts to get the play in or get the analytical opinion in that short frame. So you tee up them and then get back to JB. It's that fine dance.
Yeah, there is. And that's that I think that comes from experience. The worst or the hardest or the most difficult is when you're at the end, right? And you've got this big point to make and you start on it, and then all of a sudden you hear like, all right, we got to get out in 8, 7, 6. And you're like, oh man, I don't know how to wrap this point up that fast. But you try and do the best you can. But we've got good chemistry. We've got really good guys on the desk, so it makes it a lot of fun.
I feel like I'd be saying, long story short.
Hey, tip my hat to you guys, man. Y'all got that.
Yeah,
that's fun.
It's fun.
You guys, AD, you were great, man. The prompter froze.
Excellent.
That's part of the deal. You know, somebody's running prompter back in the studio, hoses you. It's a team game, right? You know, offensive line, you need them to complete a play. You need the producers, the directors, everybody else back in the studio to step up as well. So it's a fine, well-tuned machine. If it works, it's great. If not, you get all the credit or all the blame. That kind of seems what happens when you're in front of the camera. Fascinating week, guys, in the NFL. I want to start with Patrick Mahomes in his play versus the Raiders. Here's a clip. It was 4th and 1, first play of the second quarter. Kansas City is on their own 40-yard line. So we're thinking, right, that Mahomes is going to go something to maybe a hard count to try to get the guys offside, and this is what happens.
They're going for it on their own 40, on 4th and a foot. Try to draw him offside.
It fucking never fucking works, man.
Sorry. Mahomes says, Coach, it doesn't
Oh, there they go.
work.
They
He was
go for
faking it.
There they go. You would give it up on that one. You thought for sure it was a draw, didn't you?
So he says, it never effing works. You heard it clearly. Matt, is this something that you guys actually practice during the week? That ad lib or something like that and trying to draw them offside?
Yeah. We never did anything like that. But you know, this is definitely something they practice. Patrick was really good in his post game talking about it. Matt Nagy, their offensive coordinator, had come up with the idea that we were going to do this, go up, give them the hard cadence, do all this stuff, the theatrics that you do to try and get them to jump. And then, you know, just act like you're frustrated. Yeah. Get them to fall asleep. And then you kind of goose it or you give that quick cadence and you go. Really well done. Really well done. But Patrick was great talking about, you know, his acting skills in the commercials that he does paid off and was able to go out there and get it done. So it was funny. It was fun to watch.
AD, like, are you, as a defender guy, are you able to prepare for something like that? Is that something teams actually like think about, that offenses could do that? Or is that not something you guys would ever even think about working on?
Well, when you play in Kansas City, you always prepare for the trick plays that they always got some trickery that you prepare for or you watch film on. If there's teams that you play through the week that might have a cut up or some history of playing, doing some trick plays or has some trick plays through the season, you prepare for it just so you ain't falling asleep on it. But anytime you play Kansas City, you got to prepare for whatever they bring. They do a lot of, you know, BS stuff to make you fall asleep and then they hike the ball on you or something like that. So, you know, you always got to be ready. That's just a part of the game. Got to be ready. So,
do you ever have the ability to ad lib a call like that? Because if it's me and I'm the quarterback, I'm trying to work in a marketing deal at the line. So I'd be something like AP Royal Oak, you know, Rolex Daytona, Daytona or something like that. And then next thing you know, it goes viral and AP and Rolex are sending you some watches.
We had do you guys remember we played I think it was a Sunday night game or a Monday night game. We were playing the Eagles and we had Julio Jones. We hit a screen to him on like 4th down and he goes for the touchdown at the end of the game. And our check at the time, like all of our screens were names of beers, right? For whatever reason, that's how we categorized it. And that check was Stella. So I'm on the mic being like, Stella, Stella, Stella. Said, hut, boom, we throw it, and he goes and he scores. And I end up going and doing an interview on Monday or Tuesday. I think it was with Dan Patrick. I was doing the Dan Patrick show Monday or Tuesday after the game. And they had the audio just like we do on the show, and he's talking about it. And I was like, yeah, man, all our stuff is beers and would love to get some Stella. And next thing I know, Stella Artois, shout out to them. They sent a bunch of the chalices. They sent a bunch of beer to the house. I got a ton of that from them. So that was the only time I got anything sent to me as a result.
The next week, Ferrari.
Yeah, that's
right. You go through the cars.
That's right.
Except that he had a Mercedes deal, but yeah.
It helps when the stadium's named that, right? You don't need any help then.
Is there a limitation on what you can do? I mean, in terms of going to the line, can you try to have fun with it like Mahomes did? You went through the beers, or is there like rules and regulations on what you can and can't say when you step to the line?
Well, typically your checks are not F-bombs. Like that would be like a good place to start. Obviously, you don't have anything offensive, but no, I mean, there's really no rules or regulations to what you can use for code words and stuff like that. We just always did stuff that categorized and kept everything in the same family, right? So it was a reminder, one extra reminder to everybody of what was coming. But it was just stuff that was easy to remember and that hit the brain quickly so you knew what to do.
There was some chatter after the game in the Vikings contest. TJ Hockenson, their talented tight end, was furious, guys, after that fourth quarter touchdown was overturned by the Eagles. This is what he had to say afterwards about the communication that he was having with the referees on the field and what happened in New York when they overturned it. And then I'm going to butt that up with some sound that Baker Mayfield had after the Monday night game against Detroit, where he was furious with the officiating in that game and a few reverse calls. So I want to get your take on what they had to say and also your interaction with referees when you guys were playing in a tough situation. Here's TJ first.
I don't understand. I don't obviously understand the catch rule at this point. They got to figure it out. It's, New York can't call in and say that it's not a catch when every other ref out there says it is. I mean, that's all it is to it.
Third down defensive holding call that wasn't called, and also still pretty damn confused about the double review. A lot of things in that game that a little questionable, but a lot of frustration at the end of that. And you might be displaced onto John Hussey in the moment, but I work my ass off, and I put a lot into this game, so when things that I don't seem are deemed fair, I'm going to let somebody know, and that's good, bad, and different.
Let's go back to the TJ play first, AD. If that's Travis Kelce, many people thought that's a catch. Does star power, star name, star recognition, do you think, play into some decisions on what referees call or don't?
I hope not. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I thought it was a catch, though. I did think it was a catch. I wouldn't say refs for star powers towards that point, but I do think certain guys, sometimes get away with certain calls because of who they are. Not, a little lenient to it. But I did think that was a catch, man. And shit, I don't know. Well, I don't see why it wasn't a catch. I felt like he had control of the ball. I know it touched he said it touched the ground or whatever they were saying, but I felt like he controlled the ball for the most part. So I don't know. But I wouldn't say that the refs is out there. If it was Travis Kelce catching the ball, they're gonna change that call because who it is. That not at all. I hope not, but I wouldn't say that. So
yeah, no. There's no way, right? Like
yeah.
The league, for all the frustration that we might have with officials, I do think the league they do a really let's start with this, right? Like it's really difficult to be an official, to be a referee, to be a back judge, to be any of these things. Because if anybody's ever gone to a game and just stood on the sidelines pregame, right? Like Todd, you've done that. Zach, you've done that. AD, we've been out there. And you see how fast guys are moving,
fast
right?
as hell.
And how big everybody is and just the number of moving parts. Like it's a really difficult job. And I think as players, we all have a lot of respect for, what the officials are doing out there and how difficult their job is. I think the frustration becomes when it does become replay, right? And they have the opportunity to go. And like you, AD, I find that one difficult to see anything that's conclusive to be able to change that call, right?
Facts.
To be able to overturn it. But there's no way, right? Like I think as players, there's no way that call is getting changed regardless of who the player is, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and one thing they might do, they might, after the game, sometimes they might turn that play back into the league and get an opinion about it. And sometimes they might come back and be like, that was a bad call, that was a catch, or that shouldn't have been a flag, and it's no repercussions. It's just that was a bad call, and that's what it is. So it is what it is.
Yeah, just to dive into that a little bit more for people listening and watching, like every week, coaching staffs turn in plays to the league, right, from the game that either should have been called, weren't called, were called incorrectly. Yeah. We feel like we're incorrect or whatever, and they tag them and they give our reasoning. And then there's a response, like AD is saying. Every week it comes back, and you get notified as a player. Like he might get, told on Wednesday, we sent it into the league. It came back. They said it was a catch, but like, there's nothing you can do with it post-mortem, right? Like it's done. You don't get that one back. And so it's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating as a player. And then I think that leads into like Baker's comments afterwards, right? Like you work all week. And the thing I thought he said that was really interesting was that it wasn't personal to John Hussey, who was the referee in that game, right? It was just the frustration of putting all that work in and then not understanding how that call, and then it's taken out on John Hussey. Yeah. It's not anything personal with those guys.
Todd, if a player, one of the great things about the NFL for the players, and we understand as a media member completely, is the 10-minute cooling off period, because there's so much emotion, as Matt was just saying, and AD after a game that you're fired up, and especially in a tight loss, and how that can transcend into your public comments afterwards. So you have a 10-minute cooling off period. If they are not cooled off, Todd, and they criticize officials, can they get fined? Do they get fined? And if so, what's that range financially?
I'll answer that, but real quick, going back to your point where they, Matt, where they go back and reevaluate the plays and all that stuff. You can do that also from an agent perspective on players who make plays. Like if it's a sack or a tackle for loss or a half a sack where a guy wants to appeal it. I do those all the time, and every Wednesday they review it and then we get it back. Now it's very difficult, to get it overturned or changed, and they'll give their reason why, because, number 99 was there first. He had him in control, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But we do that also. But to answer your question, Zach,
hold on. I want to follow up on that.
I was going to, let me follow up on that too.
God, I didn't know. I thought it was just a comment.
Hold on. How often was AD texting you from the locker room immediately after? Dude, they miss at least 4 half sacks right there. I should get credit for those.
AD, you want to answer that?
No, it was a couple times. I ain't gonna lie. There was a few times. I know. I'm gonna tell you one, and my bad. Clay Matthews, right? We was playing the Steelers 2019, and they backed up, quick win, got the safety. I grabbed them, and I'm taking them down, and Clay Matthews just dives on top of them. They gave me a half sack. I'm playing in my hometown city, where I'm in the stadium I used to play in college. That's my safety. That's my sack. Like, how the hell they give me a half? We turned that in. They came back. Oh, Aaron, that's your full safety sack. I remember Clay Matthew talking about, bro, they took that sack away from me. I'm like, oh, for real? I ain't had no.
That's messed up, man.
For real.
Hey, he came to me. I was like, he said, hey, bro, they took that sack away from me. They took my half a sack. I'm like, oh, for real? I ain't know, bro. What? For real? That's crazy. It be like that sometimes, man. It's, it be like that. So it is what it is.
That's funny.
I had about 2-3 of those in my career.
Oh, that is so good. All right. Well, I want to get back. Okay. So walk me through that. How are you only dependent on the NFL broadcast? Do you get in the all 22s? How sophisticated is the process where you're going through your guys, or do they have to notify you first? Because you have so many clients throughout your firm that every play, I'm sure, like AD says, I got a half sack here, I got a tackle for loss here. When do you go, all right, that's legit, and how do you then break down what film to use to send to the league? Walk me through that process.
No question. First of all, the players are well aware, so they're making me aware of, hey, in the second quarter, I had a tackle for loss, and I said, well, can you send me the clip? Because they all watch the film, so they have it broken down, like clip number 22 with this much time left or whatever it is. So we look at it, and then we write the rationale as to why we watch it and rewatch it and over and over and over, and then send it into, it's all over email, and send it into the Elias, the stat company, and then boom, they look at it, review it, and get back to us. And like I said, very rare to change it, but we have gotten some overturned for sure.
It's all defensive guys, man. Selfish defensive players who want to pad their stats. Like, this stuff never happens on the offensive side.
Now, you hear we heard what Baker say, man, we work fucking hard for this, man. We put time in for this. We want to, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So,
but yeah, Aaron was not one of the worst for sure. No, because most of his were
I wasn't all the time with it.
No.
Are we going to name names?
Yeah, let's name names, Todd. No one's listening to this podcast.
Listen,
it's just the four of us.
The names are left off to protect the innocent. So
there you go.
We're not going to go there. And as far as a fine and a player getting fined, or can they?
Hold up, real quick. Is it? What about offense? What kind of things could they challenge?
I don't
yards,
like sacks given up, right? Or
pressure.
I don't even know.
I mean, then you're getting into like PFF type stats. I don't recall doing anything on the offensive side of the ball.
Just curious.
Yeah.
All right. As for the fines, walk me through that. And if someone publicly speaks negatively about an NFL official.
So it falls under the conduct policy. And so technically a player could get fined or even suspended for conduct detrimental by the league and or by the club at their discretion, depending on the discipline. Again, if it's a suspension, for example, the guarantees of a guy's contract could get voided. Now, it's rare to go even close to that level. For something like that to happen, the conduct would have to be something like, as an example, looking back at Antonio Brown, if you remember that, when he was with the Raiders and he had all these different things going on. And then they finally said, we're suspending you and we are going to release you. And we are, because of the conduct policy and conduct detrimental, and he had $30 million wiped out. And then they, obviously released him and they didn't have to pay the $30 million. And so, I mean, I think he appealed it and all that, and I don't believe they won it either. So, there is a strong, as these guys, Aaron and Matt know, there's just like there's a uniform policy, there's a conduct policy, there's policies for everything. You get on that podium, you shred a ref, you have the chance to definitely get fined. And again, they're going to look at, what the level it was and how egregious it was, how many times does this guy do it. There's different factors, I'm sure, that they look into, and then they come up with their magical number and fine you.
Neither of those statements, though, is going to get fined, right? Like that's not too bad. I think it has to be. You'd agree, Todd. I mean, you've probably seen more of this than anybody, but it has to be pretty egregious.
I mean, I'll tell you, I'm not going to name the player, but I had a player after a game where the fans after the game were throwing stuff on the field and all that kind of stuff. And the losing player was on the podium and the media asked him, hey, what do you think about the fans throwing things on the field, blah, blah, blah. And the player was like, well, that bothers me. Me and my teammates, we sweat, we give up our blood, sweat, and tears. We work really hard. And the media guy's like, no. They weren't throwing them at you guys. They were throwing things at the refs. And he literally just made a comment that said, well, good on them. And for doing that. And boom, a $25,000 fine came. Now we appealed it and we did win, but they did absolutely send that letter.
They trying to find a way to get our money, baby, all the time. God,
there you go.
Can't do shit.
The less you say, the less you have to take back, man.
Your socks ain't high enough to get fined. Like,
no, it's
50-50 showing the white.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, too much white showing, jersey untucked. I mean, all there's pages.
I never knew that till my rookie year. I remember was getting dressed for my first rookie game, preseason game too. I ain't have no socks. My whole leg was just out. And I'm dressed, all the vets like, what are you doing? What you talking about? Bro, you need to get the long socks. You're going to get fined. I'm like, you going to get fined for showing some legs? I'm like, that's crazy, man. So
don't they have a picture? Don't they have a picture in the locker room kind of of all the stuff and how you're supposed to look?
Yeah. They do. We used to have a presentation on it during training camp. Obviously, the Rams didn't do that, but we used to have they have like the uniform inspectors that are out there pregame that, they come into the locker room after warmups and they're like, hey, number 99 socks are not 50-50. Pull your socks up. If you go back out there and they're not appropriate, you're going to get fined, right?
Are they going to have to add a jewelry clause to this? I mean, you see these guys rocking these monster chains. Jackson Dart he's got a chain rocking. AD, did you rock jewelry when you were playing?
Hell no. Only bracelet, I probably wore my bracelet, but I taped it up because it's all my kids' names on it. But I usually taped it up, but I wasn't a jewelry guy during the game at all.
Why didn't you ask me, Zach?
We're getting there. We're going in order. The Matty Ice chain, Dirty Birds representing.
Man, could have done it. I'll tell you this, though. Funny story. Somebody lost an earring at practice, and it was like, I can't remember who it was or what the earring was, but like literally They had like 30 people out there looking for this after
something.
practice. Yes, it was worth something. It was not fake. It was real. And they had the equipment guys. And when they found it, it was one of the biggest celebrations of the year.
My guy, Aqib Talib, was a legend. You remember when he went up against
pulled the chain?
With Crabtree? He did it. He pulled it and it was ripped it off. And then he did it again. And so then they started calling him 2 Chainz. So like, yeah. I mean, and you know who else, by the way, when you're talking about uniforms and violations, I don't know if you ever pay attention, but I mean, I'm sure Aaron and Matt know this, and Zach, I assume you might know this, but you'll see guys walking around and they're the shoe representatives, right? And they're looking around at guys' shoes, trying to see, like, if you're a Nike guy, are you spatting? And what spatting is are you covering that logo with the tape? Are you, hindering it in any sort of way? And you can get away with it sometimes if you had a reason, for example, like an ankle type thing, not on a regular basis by any stretch, because they don't care and they want to make sure that they're protected and protecting their investment and their endorsement with the athlete and all that stuff. And you can't alter the logo. So you have a lot of different people walking around looking to, whether the guys are dressed right or whether they're wearing their shoe right, all that stuff. It's crazy.
Everybody thinks like what we do is cool jobs. And Matt's got a cool job. Zach's got Todd, agent, I think what the Nike shoe guy, just going from city to city, getting good meals, just making sure that check is prominently
Shout out
displayed.
to Mike Newsom. He was our guy in Atlanta for a long time. Mike Newsom's good dude. I saw him the other night at the Atlanta game down on the sideline pregame.
He lives in Atlanta.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Jackson Dart, not sure who represents him on the shoe game, but he was representing in the Mile House City. But that was just an epic collapse. NFL teams had won 1,602 straight games when leading by 18 or more in the final 6 minutes. Denver erases an 18-point deficit in the final 6. They win at 33-32. AD, when a defense is dominating for 3 quarters and then collapsing late, what's the emotional shift? How do you try to right the ship, and do you feel in real time that it's just sinking?
Before you even go there, AD, whatever your answer is, please incorporate what a monster my guy Brian Burns is. 2 sacks, leading the NFL in sacks, played unbelievable. But go ahead with your answer. I couldn't let that
follow the rundown to run a show, Todd. AD's Players of the Week are later in this podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
But
Todd,
listen, I'm going to say
doesn't mean he can't get extra pub early and late.
True.
Sorry.
There's 4 quarters in the game, right? You got to play 4 quarters. It can crash a defense. They dominated pretty much for 3 quarters towards the end of that last couple of minutes of the 3rd quarter to that 4th quarter. You let up. I've been in a game in college. I experienced this in college. My sophomore year, right? We was playing Iowa. We was in Iowa. We was up like 21-0, right? I remember being on the sideline like, yeah, after this, man, shots on me, first round of shots on me. And they came back and beat us. You know how that felt? Like, they'll just be like, that's why you say you got to play 4 quarters of the game. You got to finish your game, man, because anything can happen in football. You can't never think a game going to be over. You got to continue to fight, continue to battle, man, because shit, you up like that, and then like voila, it's like that can take the air out. That can take the air out of a defense, man. But
you don't need to tell me, AD. I know all about that. I know all about being up, and then it kills,
that's one of the ones you sit in the locker room and just be like, what the hell just happened? Like what? For sure, you just don't. It's hard to wrap it around. You dominate for damn near the whole game to the 4th quarter, and you give up. It's hard to put it in words, man. But I only can imagine how them guys felt after the game, right? And then after to watch the damn film, and you watching great film, and then you get to that 4th quarter, and it's like you just want to put a damn towel over your face, like, oh my gosh, man, because they gave it up. That was their game to win, and they just didn't finish it, man. So
there was so much to that 4th quarter. By the way, I not in addition to doing the NFL Today, I do a show up there, the NFL Today Plus, and my survivor team for this week in that was the Broncos. I needed them to survive. So I was watching in the studio screaming, man. I'm like, go, no. So I was tuned in. I was locked in to that game. But there were so many crazy things that happened. Speaking of officiating, right? We were talking about poor officiating before. We're not players anymore, so I'm not going to get fined. But that was a terrible pass interference call, right? Like that, it was not a pass interference call. It was really good defense.
It's hard to play defense in this league. And then New York gets it. Yeah, it's really difficult to play defense right now. And then they get it at the 1, and Jackson Dart, takes it in from the 1 yard line. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, okay,
we just avoided that crazy collapse, and then boom, 2 plays right down the field, 2 completions, ball goes through the uprights, the kicker missed the extra point. Like, there were so many things that happened, and that, frankly, that's what has to happen, right? Like, I've been a part of that, obviously, in our Super Bowl, where things have to happen. You have to make these kind of fluky plays in games like that, and you have to have a few calls that go against you or whatever here or there to come back from that kind of margin. Yeah,
some luck.
And it's hard, and it's frustrating, and it's really difficult when you're on the wrong side of it. But it was unbelievable to watch. I mean, unbelievable game to watch.
So if you are in that locker room for the Giants, guys, how do you make sure that this doesn't carry over to this week? It seems hard to flush.
Yeah, very difficult to flush. But like, Zach, you probably heard me say it a million times in press conferences, but like, one of the most important parts of being a professional is being able to move on, good or bad, right? Like, so from a positive experience, a positive game or a negative game, true professionals are able to move on. I think one of the things that they have going for them is their youth, right? Is the inexperience of a Jackson Dart or a Cam Scatterbu or Abdul Carter, right? It's you've got these young guys that, like, sometimes you're just too naive to know how big of a deal that was last week, and you just go keep playing, right? And I think they've got some of that going for them. I think they'll respond. Like, I think watching these guys from an outsider's perspective, it feels like they want to compete, right? Like, it feels like they're built that way. So I think they're going to bounce back.
They play with confidence. They got confidence. And they know they should have won that game. It just, they didn't finish it, and that's one of them ones you be like, we should have won it. That's on us, right? So they know they're going to keep working. They got a bunch of young dogs on there, a bunch of guys that they play with a lot of confidence. I think they're going to be fine, man. But you never want to lose like that. Not at all. But it's a part of the game. That's the NFL. You just never know. Just never know.
It was an emotional weekend. Demaryius Bebe Thomas. I got to cover him when he was at Georgia Tech. He was a client and a great friend of Todd France. Was a dominant wide receiver in the NFL, and he was now in the Ring of Honor for the Denver Broncos, right next to his great friend, Peyton Manning. Todd, when I say Bebe Thomas, what's the first thing that you think of?
I mean, there's just not one word that could describe him. He was an incredible person. He literally, like, the most loving, kind, literally just the best smile. It was contagious, a warm guy. Definitely not just a client, but a friend. It still shocks me to think about it. Like, this December is 4 years. I still wear my DT One Love 88 bracelet. I've had it on from the beginning until now, and I don't ever see myself taking it off. Again, incredible memories. He used to come to the office because he was a Georgia Tech guy. He lived in Atlanta a lot. So he would come to Atlanta, and he would always come to the office. He would literally just hang in the office, go in people's offices, mess around. He was just a really, really warm guy. I remember I signed him out of Georgia Tech, crazy. He goes to the combine or the training facility to train for the combine, and he literally breaks his foot training for a 40. It was like the disastrous thing. And when he came out of Georgia Tech, people already thought he wasn't a receiver. They thought he was a tight end because he was so big and thick. And so speed and all that was going to be a huge deal for us during the process. So luckily, he goes to the combine, he's on crutches and whatever, but we were able to get clearance for some small movement type of things. And I created our own pro day, our own special pro day a week before the draft at a high school here in Atlanta. 30-something scouts come out from all the different teams. And I remember, I'm just like, this is all you can really do. I wanted them not to see the lasting memory be of him on crutches at the combine. I wanted them to see what a physical specimen he was with his shirt off, in shape, and at least kind of moving around a little bit. It was sort of my thought process of doing things. So everyone comes in, and I was literally just going to have him stand there and like turn his head and catch a ball and turn his head and catch a ball and go to a spot on the field where the quarterback would throw it to him. And literally he was doing all that. And then finally he looked at me and he winked, and he nodded at the quarterback. All this was, I had no idea. And he just, boom, takes off on a deep, just flies, right? Thank God it was straight line, right? And just catches it. And that was the end of the workout. And he did end up being, I think it was the first receiver taking that draft. It was him and Tim Tebow, both went in the first round that year. So, he starts off, pre-combine with a broken foot. His rookie year gets there, has a finger issue, which he ends up getting a screw put in. Side note, we got an endorsement with the orthopedic company, but that's another story for another day. And it was a magazine ad with his finger and the screw. And then in the summertime, he's training for football. Some say he may have been playing basketball. I say he was training for football. Either way, he ruptures his Achilles. At the same time, John Elway is taking over as the new GM. And Elway wants to come in and flex, right? He wants to come in and say, you know what, we can do some things to his contract, to the owner, because of, being hurt. As you guys know, if you're hurt away from the facility, you can void things in terms of guarantees. I'm not going to get into all that right now. But bottom line is, I had a multiple screaming matches with John Elway. Probably the only time I actually had a loud verbal argument. I remember going back and forth with Elway on it. And finally, we worked our way through what we were going to do on the contract. Bebe became obviously who Bebe was, and obviously a special player, even more special person. And then I remember doing his contract. He was franchise tagged. The deadline's 4:00 on July 15th. He's in my office. It's 3:00 on July 15th. We still don't have the deal done. We agreed at like 3:40, 3:50, got the paperwork all done. And I remember going out and celebrating with him. And I have nothing but great memories about DT. Unbelievable player, but way better of a person. And anyone who met him would say the same thing. Just an incredible dude.
DT, Golden Tate, Todd, you and I, we went to dinner, one of the Super Bowls, and you judge somebody, I think, how they act when the cameras aren't rolling or nobody's paying attention. And I just remember the interactions he would have with people, from the owner of the restaurant to a busboy, and he was just real. He was 33 years young, and he is missed. So I hope his family had a special moment honoring him, and his legacy will live on in Denver for sure, and definitely with us here on the show.
No doubt. The Broncos did an amazing job, watching it, from a distance. And I would run into him all the time during the offseason here in Atlanta, right? And I didn't know him well, but, knew him a little bit and watched him play from afar. But like you said, one of the most genuinely nice people, whether it was seeing him at like Menchie's going for froyo or something like that, right? I just randomly run into him and say what's up and just, chop it up with him for a little bit. But just, he was an awesome dude. I thought that the Broncos did an amazing job. I thought for him and Peyton to be next to each other out there, and saw some of Peyton's comments from the game too. It's just, he's gone too soon, man. But it was really well done by the Broncos and well-deserved, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Thinking of you, DT. Yeah, much love to that family. We try to move on here on the Inner Circle podcast, and we check in with the gift that just keeps on giving. It is the Miami Dolphins. And here's Mike McDaniel from this past Monday. And this is following a 31-6 loss to the Cleveland Browns, where his quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, AD's already laughing. His quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, went 12 of 23 for 100 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That was Sunday. Here's the question to Mike McDaniel, the head coach, on Monday as they get ready to face the Atlanta Falcons this coming weekend.
Since Tua leads the league in interceptions, I guess we probably should ask you, will he take all the first-team practice snaps this week, and will he be your starter for the next several weeks, barring injury?
Yeah, he's going to take the snaps this week, and he's going to be our starter this week. And my expectation is that we don't throw 10 picks.
Sheesh. That's 6 picks in 2 weeks too, by the way.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Where do we want to start? Like,
does he know he's gone?
Where do we start?
Is that why he's saying this? I can't fathom your head coach, Matt, saying, yeah, Matt's our starter. I'm just hoping Matt doesn't throw 10 interceptions. I mean, what does it do to Tua? What does it do to the team? Like, he's got to know he's gone, right?
I mean,
they're going to clean house. If you ask me, I think they're going to clean house after this season. They got to, right?
It certainly feels that way.
Yeah, it's like, we've been talking about they need a leadership. They need to come together. It just keep going downhill, right? It keep going downhill. And it do kind of look like he don't have a say-so if he want to bench him or not. I mean, I think politics play a part of it. If you're playing a guy a bunch of dollars, right, and you don't got a backup quarterback that you feel like they can get it done anyway. I don't really, even as a head coach, if he say we're gonna bench him, there might be somebody, uppers that's saying no. But I don't know. I'm just assuming shit.
I just look at it like I'm with you, Zach. Like, is he saying this? Is that the reaction because he feels like he's not, like Mike McDaniel's not going to be there in 2 weeks or the end of the season, whenever that may be? Regardless, though, right? Like, if you ever wanted to be a head coach again, how you do like any of these matters, right?
That's such a good point, because we were talking last week about the Tennessee Titan change, and you both, AD and Matt said, you have film. These guys around the league will be watching you and observing you and judging you, how you perform moving forward. That will be on tape. Now, the 100%. Other 31 NFL teams out there, the owners, the executives, are looking at this and like, that's a freaking clown show.
Correct.
Why would I hire that guy?
And a large part of your role as a head coach, right? In addition to the coaching and getting organized and player personnel, all of that stuff, a large part of what you do is stand in front of the camera and create the messaging for your team, for your organization, for the ownership, for the entire building. And when you do stuff like that, it's to me, I don't get it. And I know Mike, I spent 2 years with Mike, and I like Mike. And I would probably tell him this right to his face, the same thing. It's like, you have to be professional in these situations, right? It's not, this is a big deal, right? And it's a big deal to a lot of people. And you're impacting people's careers, and they have to answer questions about it. You're setting direction for what your career is going to look like, whether that's next week or a month or 5 years from now in Miami when he's done, right? Like, there's going to be something after that. And I think it's short-sighted on his part to kind of handle it the way that he has. But I'd also say, like, from Tua's perspective, we're not in the building, and I don't know this, but there has to be incredible friction. They don't
like Tua. I could tell you that now from the outside looking in. I don't think they like Tua. I don't think the players don't got a good relationship. They don't seem. I'm just assuming. I don't know. Ain't nobody tell me this. But if you ask me, just the way he carries himself, and he like to talk a lot, but he's not showing up on field. He's throwing fucking picks every week. But you want to always say, we need to do this, we need to do that. I don't think the guys like him. Right. So that's my opinion on that.
And the only way any of this changes is you have to play good. That's right? Like, that's the only solution to all of this bullshit, right?
You want to be the first one talking, but you ain't even playing good on the fucking field.
Nothing that you can say, nothing that you can, post or whatever.
Rah-rah speeches, nothing.
It doesn't matter. Like, you have to play good.
And be productive.
And that should be the entire focus of everybody. Forget all of this.
Stop
who showed
talking.
Up to what meeting? Yeah. I could care less. Who we're hoping he doesn't throw 10 picks. Okay, I could care less. Like, show me a performance. Go out there and perform.
Yes.
And that's the only way you stop these kind of narratives.
Todd, if you represented a player on that team, does McDaniel's media image with the clown show that people are saying is in South Florida, does that hurt, the image of the player? Is it kind of like guilty by association?
No, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, there's so much noise already that exists around there because of just the performance of the team, and then when you add the coaches' comments and things like that, obviously you're piling on, and all it does is take away from any of the focus, and so it doesn't help keep a locker room together. So I could see players being frustrated. And look, we're early in the season still. I mean, we're not quite halfway.
They've got more football in front of them.
Yeah, and that's a tough way to go to work. I mean, I talk to players all the time, and you want them to win, you want them to enjoy going to work and all that type of stuff, or feel like they have a chance to win. And coaches have to understand. And I'm not talking about Mike McDaniels. I'm just talking about in general. Coaches have to understand how to get the best out of their players, and you can't coach everyone the same way. And I don't think any public type messages are necessarily going to not only affect the one player you're talking about, but it affects the locker room and it affects everybody else, because are you thinking this guy's going to, crush me? Is he going to crush another guy? It's normal instincts. We're human beings. Yes, they're football players, but at the end of the day, the coaches are leaders, and it starts from the top and it funnels down, and whatever they're doing is going to trickle down and impact everybody else below. And so it's tough. I don't actually have a Dolphin player right now, which is weird, but
that's a good thing right now.
It's a great thing. I'm thrilled that I don't have to deal with that. Are you kidding me? I got enough other things I got to deal with. I got plenty of guys on other teams. We got things going on. So
I was like, hey, Todd, get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Oh, those calls will be happening for sure. Agents are having those conversations with players all the time for sure. And then that's tough because if you're dealing with a coach that's on a hot seat or you're dealing with a GM that's, people are going to question them and the team's not winning and you got a quarterback and the people have question marks and there's a big contract there. Like, you got to be real careful with how you handle all that whole thing on both sides. Everyone does. Got to have a plan.
AD brings up a great point. We got the trade deadline coming, November 4th. Is the phone ringing to you? How does this work? And if you did have a player on the Dolphins, are you trying to get them out of there? Walk me through what the next 2-3 weeks will look like for you and your agency as the NFL trade deadline approaches.
I mean, look, yes, any good agent is constantly communicating with teams and you're checking in on your players and you're trying to be proactive, right? You're trying to pay attention to, let's say there's a team like Miami and you have players on there and let's say they have no more guaranteed money on a contract. That might be a guy that the team might be wanting to unload. Do you want to be unloaded yourself? And what does your player want to do? And we talked about it on a previous show. The grass isn't always greener. So you got to make you got to have an understanding and make a decision on what you're wanting. But you're also trying to talk to the media people. You're trying to talk to the reputable national media guys to see what are they hearing? What rumblings are they hearing? You got to follow rumors and you got to know what's going on and you got to understand the landscape of what's going on. And the biggest thing that I like to do is I like to communicate with the GM on the front end and tell him, hey, look, I'm hearing this. They can deny it all they want, and most of them do. I always like to say, look, whether you change your mind or you keep it this way, whatever you decide to do, who knows if someone calls, work with me on the front end. And the reason I want them to do that is because if they don't, then my guy could just be shipped anywhere, and it might be to a situation. Let's just say he's a receiver, and they're shipping him to a team that doesn't have a quarterback. I don't want that. That's not going to be good for his production. So I tell the team on the front end, work with me. I'll work with you. And I remind the teams, you have a good relationship with me. I'm not going to throw you under the bus if something doesn't happen, right? Because that's the reason they don't want the agent to know, because if it doesn't happen, they don't want their player thinking they were being shopped. And I have a story because I literally told John Elway this story. I told John Elway about a certain player. It was Aqib Talib, actually, and it ties into AD because that was the end result. But I told Elway, don't ship Aqib unless you talk to me. Don't. Work with me. He promised and all this kind of stuff. Next thing you know, I get a call from another GM. I won't name his name. And he calls me and said, hey, Todd, we just traded for Aqib. And I said, I can't believe you did that. I told Elway that's not going to work. And he's not going to come there. I'm sorry. He's not going to come. And he's like, what do you mean he won't come? I'm like, he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be somewhere else. We're not going to come there. He's like, well, can you at least let me get on the phone with him? And I'm like, sure, I'll put you on the phone with him. I put him on the phone with the player. He calls me back. He's like, okay, you're right. We're not trading for this dude. He doesn't want to be here and we're not coming there. And when, obviously Aqib's personality is tremendous. We should get him on the show sometime. He's absolutely amazing.
Because he went to Kansas. Of course he's fantastic.
Right. He's a Jayhawk. But there's no sugarcoating with him. But ultimately, I called John back and I said, John, I told you not to trade him. He's not going to go there. And unfortunately, for that situation, the trade fell apart. He did get good compensation in terms of trade comp for him, and he got a little less compensation for the team that he actually wanted to go to. But we did pull the trade off because he wanted to go to L.A., and I took him to the Rams with AD. Of course, he wanted to go with the Rams. He knew he had 20 minutes to cover a guy because he didn't have to cover a guy for 20 minutes, I should say, because AD was going to be in the quarterback's face. So
correct.
It would pad his stats, just like he made my guy Aqib money. He made Leonard Floyd money. I mean, AD, we should have had like a side hustle where people were paying you a piece of their contracts for the way you impacted things. So
Lee did enough, man. He brought that leadership to me. He's the one that kind of like, he used to always tell the stories about what it felt like to be a world champion, what it took, like the team success, right? He always used to be like, the best teams he was a part of, and this is when I started to understand, like it was the camaraderie with the team, like not just hanging with each other, like during football practice or during meetings, but after practice, right? Always wanting to hang with the guys and having that camaraderie and like, that was the success, and he brought that to our locker room, right? And then still like, I wouldn't call myself a young guy, but I was still learning. I got to learn from him, man, and to learn how to be a leader and what we needed to do to become be the team we wanted to be, a world champion, man. Like I like to take them jewels, man. Same thing I learned from Von Miller, right? So
he liked to take the jewels too, just off of other people's necks.
Yeah, but
we definitely need to get Aqib on.
I love Lee. I love him.
I trained with him prior to the 2008 draft. We spent like 3 months together out
in Arizona.
out in Arizona. He's a beauty. We had a ton of fun. And then played against a bunch when he was in Tampa. Todd, thinking of the trade deadline coming up, and specifically Miami, right? Like, who's going to be making decisions for Miami? Because if you've got a coaching staff that might not be there, and you've got a front office and a GM that might not be there,
they're gonna clean house for sure.
Where, like, in your experience of dealing with them in situations like this, where does the decision making come from? Is there somebody that's, outside of those two spots in the organization that's saying, okay, hey, we're going to do nothing because we don't know who the new staff or who the new GM is going to want, or are we just going to clear house and create as much space? Like, have you had experience with situations like this at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, look, different teams, different philosophies, different situations. I mean, how involved is the owner, right? And so do they have a trusted, third-party source that they use outside, that they consult with, that they can be talking to, and not as much rely on what the GM or the coaching staff says? Or does he still trust them and say, this is what we're going to do because he agrees and has an input on it? There's other teams, I remember a team that had my player, and he was up after that year. There was no reason they were going to, and he was a big time name guy, and they were not going to keep him at the end of the season. But the owner wouldn't trade him because they felt it was sending a message to the fans that they were giving up and that no one's going to come to games anymore. So they felt like, no, we can't do that. And that was the decision of that owner. So everyone's got different philosophies, different processes, and who they trust and all that. But it's definitely, a confusing situation because, to your point, am I going to listen to the very people I'm getting ready to move on from, if that's even the case? And none of us really even know what they're doing there.
No, it's all speculation.
100%. They all might be there and forever. I don't know. But in that type of a hypothetical situation, it's a tough thing to decide who you're going to rely on. What's that?
AD doesn't seem to think so.
You keep losing, people lose jobs, man. We all know that. Let's not sugarcoat it. They gonna clean house, And I wish they wouldn't. And I'm not wishing, I wish nothing but success for them. But you got to win in this league, man. That's a part of it. You losing. Owners want to make money too. You can't make money losing. You need to fill them seats and teams. Fans want to come watch people score points and win games. I don't want to see you throwing 3 picks, 0 touchdowns, and losing every damn week. Now you start losing money. That's not what these owners want. So,
Todd, I want to go back to the Aqib story about him not wanting to go to the other team and the trade breaking down. Is that just based on Aqib's ability, the lack of conviction in the general manager, all of the above? I guess how many times do you see a trade nearing its completion and it doesn't go down because the player refuses to go? And at the end of the day, does the GM just say, I don't care what player says, you're coming, this deal's going down?
I mean, again, yes, they can do that because he doesn't have a no trade clause. But if you were a GM and just common sense says, I don't necessarily want to bring in a guy who doesn't want to be here, a guy who's not going to buy in, or bring in a cancer to the locker room because he's going to not want to be here. Like, there could be the opposite school where a GM says, look, he doesn't want to be here. He thinks he's not going to be here. He's got to come here. It's going to affect his contract. If he fails or refuses to play, his guarantees or whatever are going to go away. Once he gets here, we'll love on him. He'll fit in. Our QB, or, on offense, Matt Ryan will bring him in, take him to dinner at his house, or Aaron Donald will, whatever it is, they might have that philosophy too. In this case, GM was like, no thanks, not going to bring in a guy that has no desire and not going to come here. So you don't see it a lot, or you don't hear about it publicly a lot, but as an agent, it's definitely something you try to do to make sure your guy goes to the spot you want him to go to.
More than 1,500 NFL players. How many would you say have no trade clauses?
You can count them on one hand. I don't know that anyone probably outside of a
less than 1%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I know those hard. If you have a first round non-quarterback, how hard is that to work into a deal, a no trade clause, or is it at the second contract where that becomes more realistic?
Second contract is where you attempt to try it, but again, it's not a common thing whatsoever. Obviously, someone like a Dak Prescott, he has it. But not all quarterbacks have it, and that wasn't a plug. It's out there publicly. But again, I feel it's a strong thing to have, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I have my own no trade clause by being strong and how to play it with the team that we'd be trading to if I didn't want to go there.
Correct. Like, just being candid, I don't think I ever had one, a no trade clause in the contract. But as we discussed it, player to agent, right? It was, well, effectively you do, right? And so we don't need it in the language, but effectively we feel like we do. And so
Well,
I think that
in your situation too, right? In your situation, we worked through it and we picked the teams we wanted to talk to or not.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
AD, it's time to make some noise. I want your players of the week. Who represented in your world? Who's getting some love from Aaron Donald? Talk to me.
So I'm going to start it off this week, man. I think it was some good defensive play Monday night, last night, man. So I got to give it I think Detroit defense played great. I think they were swarming, flying around. Seattle defense played light us out. I know they gave up that last touchdown, but I think they was getting after the quarterback. They was playing great. I think Ernest played great at that linebacker position, big pick. He was blitzing them a bunch, getting after the quarterback, man. They think they was just dominant. They had a dominant performance, man. Brian Burns, obviously, give him a shout-out for 9 sacks. And my guy, B.Y., Brian Young with the Rams, 9 sacks, right? Them guys leading NFL on sacks. They hunting. But Michael Parsons, man, has come out, his first hat trick with Green Bay, 5 tackles, 10 quarterback pressures, 5 quarterback hits, 3 sacks, really 4 sacks. They took one of his sacks away because they said it was a hip drop, which I'm not a fan of. That's a big-ass quarterback. How you supposed to get him down? But, that's just my opinion. But I think he was getting after it. He's been getting a lot of doubles and triple teams, a lot of chips, a lot of slide protections. They're trying to slow him down. And he got a lot of opportunities to get some one-on-ones, and he took advantage of it, man. I think they woke him up. Sacks start coming in bunches at the perfect time. He's starting to heat up, man. But Michael Parsons, man, he put on the day, man, and shout out to him, man. That was a big performance. He was all over the place, living in the backfield, man, and keep it up, man. Keep it up, big dog. Keep hunting. Clap it up, fellas. Clap it up. Keep hunting, big dog. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about, man. Keep hunting. In my opinion, I just think it's hard as hell to play defense in the league right now. You can't do nothing. Definitely as a pass rusher guy, you can't land on top of the quarterback. You can't. Yeah. You tackling a big quarterback. How you supposed to take that big motherfucker down? You got to drop a little weight to get him. I'm like, golly, it's just such a disadvantage, man. It's horrible. But man, that's my little rant. NFL, we gotta clean some stuff up, man. Listen, it's a physical sport, man. God damn, I used to like hitting the quarterback and putting my weight on the hair and that.
You like to burp him. You like to burp us on the ground.
God damn, man, it's football.
No, as a former quarterback, I'm even on AD's side on this one, right? There's a lot that you see, and this isn't like when I was playing, it was so much more physical, right? But like there are certain ones you see now, and you're like, man, what? That wasn't roughing, right?
That's crazy.
That was just a good physical hit. So I understand them trying to protect it, but I agree with you. I think it's really difficult to play defense in the league right now.
Yeah, man.
2-minute time.
All right.
Get the timer going.
Okay, let me get the timer going right here. Stopwatch is going. We're going to start with Todd, then we're going to go Zach, then AD. All right, timer's going. Todd, as an agent, you've got to deal with crisis management, right? And you've got to be able to handle those things. Let's give you a little hypothetical right here. How would you deal with this scenario where somebody steals the charger to your computer? Your computer's not charged and you have an important meeting that you have to be on. Are you calm in that situation or are you freaking out?
Totally calm, but I'm also a very smart leader and I surround myself with very intelligent people. So I yell outside my office for everybody out there and they will all come in with all sorts of chargers and figure it out, just like we did to start this show, and it all got figured out.
Hey, Matt, can we call 20-second timeout on the timer? Can you hit pause on the timer? Real quick story about Todd, arguably one of the top agents in the history of football.
Timeout.
No, just stop talking. I'm going to mute you. I have the power to mute you. Todd, I asked him to restart his computer one time because there was too much memory loss on his computer. He did not know how to turn off a computer.
That's false.
Didn't know where the button was.
False. Not true.
I love it.
Okay, just let
we
you
got
know.
a booth review during this 2 minutes.
Yeah,
booth review.
Just let you guys know what we're dealing with here on the show. Sorry.
All right.
There's some truth.
We're back on it. We're rolling. All right, here we go. Zach, you're up. You got to be a beat writer in one of these two cities right now. You're reporting. Which would you prefer? The New York Jets or the Miami Dolphins?
I like New York. I love their head coach because he's honest and to the point. So I'm going to go New York, dealing with all the crazy other beat writers there. I'm going New York.
Okay. All right. AD, more difficult, reading the prompter at the beginning of the show with Zach talking in your ear, or being the DC of the Pop Warner football team you're the DC of? What's more difficult?
The broadcasting. That was difficult. And that was just a little taste of it.
I like it. I
The
like it.
broadcast,
All
yeah.
right, let's go back. Let's double snake order this. All right, AD, you're back up. Did you happen to see the Chargers uniforms this weekend?
Trash.
Awful.
Trash. They need to burn those. For
Maybe
sure.
the worst I've ever seen
that
in
was
the
ugly.
league.
That was ugly. I ain't like it.
I
Wasn't a
go
fan
check
of
this
it.
out now.
Huh? Did you not see it?
You ain't
Zach?
see
I
it?
did not see it. No.
I think this warrants the rest of the 2 minutes right here because
Okay.
those
Was
were
that
the
bad?
Yeah, they were. You know, I'm putting a pause on it. The game's over. All right, the game's over. The 2 minute drill's over. But the Los Angeles Chargers uniforms, they've got great options. They've got the powder blues with the white helmet.
Yes.
They've got really, really good options. They can go throwbacks. They could even go with like that dark purple that they had. They're fine. They decided to go yellow on yellow. And like, it was the worst uniform I've seen. And
Pulling
listen,
this up here.
that's it right there. That's
on
it.
YouTube. You guys check it out. That's not a good look.
No,
It's not
you
a good
should've
look. It
seen-
was a
I ain't
bad
like
look.
it. I wasn't
And
a fan
listen,
of that at all.
We had the gradient uniform with the Atlanta Falcons, which I love the Falcons. It's one of the worst uniforms in the history of the league, too.
Facts.
But it was not all yellow. It was not all yellow. That was a horrible uniform. Sorry, the 2 minute drill was a little different today, but we had to go on that.
We wore all yellow before too. I wasn't a fan of it with the Rams. We
The
had
Rams did it, but they didn't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't a
Great
fan
for
of
the
that.
Savannah Bananas. Not good for the LA Chargers.
Correct.
Not at all.
Absolutely.
Burn those. If the captains is picking uniforms, do better than that, man. If that's the yellow on yellow, that's what y'all pick, man. No swag. I wasn't a fan of that.
Bad ball.
That's going to do it for this edition of the Inner Circle podcast. Keep those comments coming. Todd France, Matt Ryan, Aaron Donald, yours truly, Zach Klein. Much love, folks. We appreciate you as always. We'll see you next week on the Inner Circle Pod.